Kלים Perik Yud Zayin, Mishnah Daled. And we're now going back to the basic din of Moitzi Rimon. We said at the beginning of the Perik that as soon as a Kli, the general rule for a Kli 8 is as soon as it has a hole big enough, the size of a Moitzi Rimon, then the Kli is Tahor. Now the Mishnah is going to tell us details about this particular shear of a Moitzi Rimon. It says the Mishnah, Horimonim she'omru, when we say this rule, that the hole is big enough so that a Rimon can pop out through the hole, slight qualification to that rule. We mean it's a case of shloisha achuzin zeh bo zeh. Now there are about 6 different perushim of the Rishonim on these words. We're going to be dealing with a perush of the Baal Tanura, which is basically the perush of the Rash, and these words mean as follows. If you just have the Kli and you put in one single Rimon, then of course a hole the size of a Rimon will be big enough so that that Rimon would fall out. However, we need the hole to be, this is a kula, this is a chumrah. The hole has to be a bit bigger than literally the size of a Rimon. The hole has to be such that if you were to put 3 Rimonim in the Kli, how big does the hole have to be so that when you have 3 inside, a Rimon will pop out? The assumption is here that if you put more than 1 Rimon, you put 3 Rimonim in a Kli, having a hole the exact size of a Rimon still will not let a Rimon fall out, because the other Rimonim would actually, they all press on each other and therefore give them a little bit of, they trap them. The hole has to be now much bigger. When you have 3 inside, the hole has to be bigger for the Rimon to come out, and that's the shear you need. You only need a shear that 1 Rimon comes out, but it's measured if you have 3 Rimonim in the Kli, you need a hole big enough to let 1 Rimon out, and that's a bigger hole than just simply using a single Rimon. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, he's saying another variation on this rule. He's saying when we're dealing with a nofa uchvara, these are types of sieves which are always moved and shaken. Here, this is a kula. Kadesh yitol v'yahalech. If, for instance, you have a Kli and you don't actually shake it, then of course the Rimon won't go out so easily. If you shake the Kli, a Rimon is more likely to pop out much quicker. Says Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, because an ofel chvar is always used to be moved and shaken, therefore it's enough as soon as the hole is big enough that it'll be moitzi a Rimon in a circumstance where you actually shake the Kli, then it is already tahor. And similarly, he says of a kuppah with a box, which is always also just used for slinging over your shoulder, if you were to sling the keli over your shoulder, and that action of slinging it over your shoulder would actually get a rimon to come out, then that hole is big enough in the case of a kuppah to make it tahor. Says the Mishnah now, what about those kelim which actually are they're much smaller than a rimon? Surely the din can't be that you have to wait till you get a hole the size of a moitzi rimon to make it tahor, because that means this keli can never become tahor. This whole keli is smaller than a rimon. So there must be another shear when you're dealing with smaller kelim. What is the shear for such a kli? Says the Mishnah, for example, they're just so small, they're just not able to fit 1 rimon at all. Could go in a roiva v'chatzia roiva, a measuring kli for a roiva hakav, or a half a roiva hakav, or a kanonim hakatanim. Kanonim hakatanim we mentioned in the earlier Perik Tazayin. Mishnah Gimel, kanonim hakatanim are small reed baskets, which are much smaller than a rimon. So what is the shear for them? It says Remeah Shuron Barubon, Duvei Rabbi Meir. If the majority, if the roiv of one of the wall of this keli is broken, then that's considered to broken, although that's much less than a moitzi rimon. Rav Shimon Omer, here we go back to our old shear of zayis, Shuron Bezeisim. When you can't use a rimon, you use a zayis, a moitzi zayis. Similarly, Nifritzu Shuron Bezeisim. Not quite sure what the difference is between the previous Mishnah, the Mishnah before, where we're dealing with a hole, a nekev, where we say the shear of a rimon, or a zayis in this case, or Nifritzu means, I think Nifritzu means it's not actually got a hole, you've actually got a breakage in the side. Again, Shuron Bezeisim, as soon as a zayis can fall out, the kli is considered to be broken. However, Nigmumu Shi'uron b'chol b'meshein. Nigmu, in fact, is a situation where the whole wall of the keli has been eroded, has been rubbed off, has disappeared. You're left now just with a base and a little bit of a rim. Because here, although you've got a massive hole, I mean the whole thing's broken, all the walls have disappeared. But because the tzuras hakli is still there, in other words, it doesn't look like a broken kli, you just have a rim with a very small wall all the way around. In such a case, because the tzuras hakli has not been broken completely, the shear is now, this is very chumradik, b'meshein, even if you've got a mashu of a wall, of course it can't hold the rimon or a zayas, they'll fall out, but this kol shu is considered to be enough to say that you've still got the tzuras hakli retained, and therefore because you can put something inside this rim so that it doesn't roll off, that's enough to say that the kli is not broken and the kli is still tomei. And then Mitzvah Shem, we're going on to Mishnah Hey, and from now on, from Mishnah Hey till Mishnah Yodalad, we're going to believe in Kelim and dealing generally with Shi'urim right across the board, right, Kol HaTorah Kolo, all